G'day and welcome back for more Survival Impossible. Some of you have asked me recently about refining the iron with those basic refineries and comparing it to the large refinery. Especially given the fact that when I was down on the planet, I did that comparison when I first built the Big Refinery, and it turned out that I'd got better results with the large refinery. And that was true at the time, but shortly afterwards, Thraxis, who made the scrap mod, noticed that the survival kit was actually more efficient at processing stuff than the basic refinery, so lifted the basic refinery to match the survival kit. Unfortunately for me, I've nerfed the survival kit, so what that did in this case was actually obsolete the big refinery if you don't have access to gold. And I think that's something that happened for a lot of people using a similar style of play as what I've got here. Obviously, that's not going to be for everyone, so I did have a chat to Thraxis, and he's temporarily changed the mod back to the old state where basic refineries are terrible, which means I should probably stop them from processing any iron, because they're not going to be doing as good a job anymore. I'm just going to temporarily turn them off until I sort this out. So, Thraxis and I were talking about it, and he might have some ways to do a config to allow people to choose for themselves which way they'd like that to be. Or he may be able to nerf the survival kit in a similar way to what I've done to try and make it less efficient. I'm not sure that the survival kit is less efficient in all purposes in my case. I think I just nerfed it for stone. But it does a few other things, so maybe it's not, and maybe it's more complex than I see, so we'll have to just wait and see how Thraxis goes with that, but he is a much better modder than me, so I have confidence. But with that out of the way, what that means is I want to use up some of my remaining cobalt, of which I think I've got over 100. Let's see, we got 120. So in theory, I've got enough cobalt to make 3 large refineries, and I think I will make 2 of them, and they are going to have access to all of the iron. But these basic refineries, I'm going to cut off their access to iron and allow them to only process stone from now on, which means I need to play around with a few more sorters, or I could play around the script, but I kind of want to play around with more sorters. So, we have a look at our basic refineries. I've got these tubes down this end, which I could put a sorter in here. I could then have another loop of conveyors that come around to this end, with a further sorter in it to disallow backflow, and that should allow them to get access to stone. And then the new big refineries, they can just have access to whatever they want because they can't refine stone with my mod pack. Vanilla they can, but here they can't, because I wanted to keep the basic refineries useful in the late game, so I made it so they could do something that the big ones can't. So I might start with the sorter first and figure out how I'm going to loop things back around to this set of basic refineries. So this will be fairly simple. Let's name this Gravtoroid. Oh, that's right! Oh, yes! Brief distraction. Very brief, but very... well, I thought it was hilarious. We'll find out if everyone else does. I named one of the episodes Long Arm of the Launcher, because of the long arm of the catapult. And it made me tempted to name the base, the asteroid base, Lawn Chair, because someone pointed out that that's what they thought they read at first. And I kind of liked the idea of naming this base the Lawn Chair, because it kind of reminded me of the story of the guy who... I think he wanted to prove the Earth was flat, so he attached a bunch of balloons to a fold-out chair and sent himself up in the sky. Yeah. Given this is an asteroid inside the gravity field that's kind of static, I don't know. It just seemed ridiculous enough that it might work. So I'm going to stick with Lawn Chair as the base name for now. I may start renaming other things as we go along. Basic refinery in sorter. Okay. Now I can go and modify that one to allow stone. Add stone to my whitelist and we're good. Now I can turn all the refineries back on I'll let them refine the little bit of iron they've got, because I've already refined a huge amount anyway. It's not a big deal. But at least they won't be able to get more after this. And then I just need to set up their outward goings. But yeah, I kind of liked the idea of this being the lawn chair with a launcher. The lawn chair launcher. That's going to be a mouthful. Some of you may be familiar with my particular fondness for naming things somewhat ridiculously once I've had a ridiculous name suggested to me. And this is a prime example of it. I'm thinking of adding another pair of refineries here. So we got 6 for processing all the stone, because there's going to be a lot of it. So it'll be like that and that. Because then what I might do is put the big refineries back here. I feel like that... I prefer that to look a bit more supported. If I aim for over the top, so if I put the sorter in here, going this way, so that's going to allow me to get the ingots out. And then if I go up and that, oh, that, oops. And then go across, because then I should be able to build some sort of supporting structure if I pick the right spot to put the right tubes. Maybe tube, and then put a junction in here so I can support on that. And then straight across to the top. I seem to love this word at the moment, but this, I feel, adds to the whole feeling of being inscrutable that this base and this section of the base has going on. Get rid of those two. And let's bring this down. Oh, have to get rid of that light. Yeah, that should work. With that bit all there, I think it will be nice to bring the refineries back around to this side. One, it'll mean I'll have a reason for having some sort of walkway that goes to the door over here. And 2, I think it'll be nice to extend out underneath where this catapult sits so that it's got a bit more going on around here as well. So eventually I'm going to want to be able to add upgrade modules to these refineries. I'll go out to maybe there. Then if I do that, I should be able to place both of the refineries next to each other like this. And that way, if I do bring more cobalt up, I could put a 3rd refinery on here and maybe extend this out with extra rows behind it if I ever feel like that's worthwhile. I'll build some support structure under here before I get too excited. I might continue this one right ooh, maybe not right across. That might be too far. Will it be? Oh no, that should work. Build this like a little bridge all the way across. Given how much I like how this catapult support turned out, I'm going to be trying to think about supports and making everything look really robust. Because yeah, I'm so happy with how that turned out, and I want the rest of the base to kind of fit that sturdy kind of look. Oh, while I'm doing this, what I should do is grab 2 of the refinery on my build planner and go shift middle mouse. Get them all put into production. So that I can make up all the bits that I need. Since while Izzy's script is going to keep making stuff as I pull it out, there are a few extra components that I haven't got on my minimum auto crafting list. I don't think adding stuff manually to the list causes too much of a problem. Ooh, I should probably fix up the output of these two before I get too excited about getting the new refineries in. Oh, hold up. I just realized. I'd overestimated how many grids there were in a refinery. I thought it was 40. It's only 20. I can do more. Excellent. I'll see how quickly these work and how much power they consume. But if I can make more of them without using up all of my cobalt that I brought with me, that would probably be quite good. Let's check this out. Yep. It's grabbing all the iron. Perfect. And, oh, I should, since I can access from here, I should check refineries. No, the basic refineries have still got iron. Is that the iron that they already grabbed? They're grabbing more. What? I've stuffed something up. Where have I stuffed up? No. The assembler out. Oh, it's this one. They're pulling through the conveyor. Ah, they're pulling through the assembler. Right. What are you called? Now I should be able to fix that one. And we will blacklist. I'm probably going to have to use specifically iron ore. So I suspect that stone is included if I did blacklist ores. Now, I go to refinery. I grab all of that. And I grab all of that out. Shouldn't be able to grab any more. And the basics should all end up refining stone only as intended. I'm willing to bet someone noticed that before I did, that I'd stuffed up because of the way the assembler hooks in. I mean, the alternative I have, I guess, would be to go from the back of the assembler up and kind of pipe into the top here or something, which could work. But yeah, this will function because I'm only stopping the refineries from pulling iron ore through that. Everything else will still be able to pass through that sorter from the assembler. Alright, we have a full complement of upgrade modules, 2 speed modules, well, 1 each, and then the rest of them power. And that gives us a total of 334 kilowatts output, but equivalent of 2 large refineries per each one. So that should chew through the iron very quickly, I hope. Especially since I'll only have iron to to refine when I've actually drilled through a deposit. The vast majority of the time is going to be stone, so those refineries, they can kind of work in the background and don't need to be working as quickly as the basic refineries working on all the stone, because the stone is what really just clogs the system up. How are we looking on that front, though? Oops. Overflew. Pause. We got... well, yeah, we're accumulating. So we got the refineries in. I would like to... might weld up these little bits of scaffold here as well, just to finish that off. And then I'm going to try and do a little bit more decorative work around the refinery area. Putting in the catwalks, putting in the railings, because the next thing I want to work on is making this drill look, well, as supported as I can manage. Basically, I don't think there's much I can do once I get past this rotor, and it's kind of supporting a huge mass, which it does, well, does feel a little silly, but that's just what it is. However, I can make this bit look a lot better and obviously support this cargo container rather than it just being out there dangling on a single conveyor tube, which is not as I would like it. That's what I'm going to do next after I weld up all those blocks. So I want to make this all look pretty, because then I'm going to go inside. And just to briefly interrupt my obsessive building of catwalks everywhere, a really cool suggestion I was given in the comments last week was to use the neon light tube down bit instead of an interior light. Instead of a corner light like this, use it in there, which will allow you to do an attachment onto it. Oops, wrong color. Follow the stairs. Go back to our other one. Which is actually a really nice, very much more hidden way of doing it. So instead of having to use those corner lights or some other method of attaching the stairs to the catwalks, we can now use the neon lights, and they work really well. Because even partially constructed like that, it works. That little bit of metal, neither here nor there. Yeah, just a little side note. As I go about building tons of unnecessary catwalks. Because I just like the look of having... oops. Apparently that was how that one was attached. I like the look of having lots of catwalks everywhere. Even if I can use my jetpack here, I still feel like I should be making stuff navigable on foot. Especially if I do accidentally run out of jetpack fuel at some point. If I run out of hydrogen, I need a way to get back to the main bit. Okay, I think I'm happy with that for now. I do wish I'd come up with a different way to do some of this piping, but it's a mess, but it's my mess. I just didn't leave quite enough room to put supports in like this, because I did want to put more supports in, but oh well, I'll just have to live with that. Happy with where the catwalks go, because we can now safely walk all the way around here. Oh, no, that bit's not safe yet. Just ignore that. Shh, no one saw that. Whoops, wrong set of stairs. This set of stairs, which goes up and around to there. We can go around to here. This is... these catwalks and things are the reason why... well, one of the biggest reasons why I decided to nerf the jetpack for Down on the Planet is so that I needed this stuff. Because I like having it. But I don't like welding it, because that was quite painful having to weld up all these... oh, so many railings. But they're done now, which means I can realize that I shouldn't have done all of them, because I'm going to need to add a few more catwalks to get over to where the drill is attached. But it did remind me of something that I had suggested to me in the comments, which I really quite like. Instead of having these flashing corner lights, I'm going to get rid of them. And what the suggestion was instead of them, have a warning on the ground. Much like in Survival Maybe, where I had the tram stop, I could put corner LCDs down here and put a warning on them. So, like a watch your step sort of warning. And that means that if I want to have some flashy lights up here, I could use the spinny light somewhere. Not sure where yet, but I do intend to use one somewhere as part of the launch sequence. Something like that. So yeah, something like this with mind your step, or long fall or something like that. I'm not sure what else to write on them. If you've got any ideas, let me know. I will probably update these if there are some good or funny ones. I think it was quite a good idea. Because it means it works without the railing. It means they're acknowledging they're aware there's a problem, but within the limitations of what we can actually do around here, it works. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. The drill is almost finished, which is going to... ooh. Maybe I'll have the chance to try and work this thing around so that I can angle it somewhere different. Oh, hello. Hello, old base. Okay. Hadn't quite appreciated that I'd done that. I have updated the safety up there, and that means I can now work on making this drill rig look a bit more robust before I bring it back to realign it to try and get the rest of that iron deposit. One of the challenges I have with making this bit over here look supported is that I have to keep everything from this rotor this way clear, pretty much. I can't really put any supports sticking out that way because then they're going to get in the way of the drill. Especially if it turns out there might be some iron off this way somewhere, which I haven't actually searched to check whether I'll find some extra deposit that way. And so I've got to kind of make it all supported at this... ooh, ooh, ooh. That was close. I've got to make it all supported off that block that the rotor's attached to. Which does make it a little bit more difficult to make it really look supported. And I guess what that's going to mean for me is that I might just make it broader. So what I was thinking was something similar to what I've done here with those slopes coming off the side and then sort of a U-shaped support, except taken to a whole new level. So 2x1 base like that, and then some ladder and blocks underneath, but brought out wider. Another 2x1 base sticking out this way, and then bringing the supports down into the rock like this, because I think that makes it look reasonably well supported given what we can actually do without breaking the rotor. I was thinking something like that. And once welded up, that should look pretty sturdy, I think. I go with that as well. Yeah, maybe. Then for underneath the cargo container, I think perhaps this will be enough. Put one base out that way and one out that way. And then another one out this way. I'm going to weld all this up, and I think this will fix a lot of the lack of visual weight to a lot of the supports around here. Yeah. Yeah, within the limits of what I can do, I think that works. Something that might have also helped was if I'd put a conveyor junction in here rather than a tube. I suppose I could have done some sort of counterweight. I mean, I still could, I guess. What if I did this? Is this going to make this look a bit better? Or is it going to make a mess of things? I'll weld this up. You guys tell me what you think. Whether this... I realize this counterweight will have a small positive impact on the engineering in that this does actually counterweight some of what's there, but it's so light because I'm making it with light armor that it really doesn't make a big difference. But I'm hoping that visually it's going to look like it might. Yeah, let me know. If this looks terrible, I may well remove it if you all tell me that it looks terrible. I think there might be a ways to make it work, like if I put some extra blocks on top. But before I add too much to it, I might leave it there a little while and see if it grows on me. Okay. That should be, at least for now, most of the support structure and the aesthetic design for the refining area. Because it's all functional now. It's got lighting everywhere it needs. I've got catwalks going everywhere I want them to go. Obviously, if I need to expand it later, I will do that. I had a couple of people ask me about what my longer term plans were for this base. Like, once all the iron's gone from this asteroid, what am I going to do? Well, my thought would be this is a perfect exploration and recovery base. So if I go out and I mine some silver or mine some other stuff that I want to send down to the planet, this base is already set up to do that. And I can go out and explore and find those resources with something that can launch from here, because it's low gravity, so it doesn't have to be a ship that can return all the way back to the planet. It can be something that's more space orientated than the Remora is. And then I've already got the drop pods ready to go. I just have to change what they're loading into them. So it's kind of set up really well for that, which means I'd probably just use this rather than trying to shift all of this infrastructure to a new asteroid. I'd just build more infrastructure to, say, get rid of this drill and build a big dock there for a large mining ship that goes and just cores out other asteroids or something along those lines. I don't know what my plans are in those sorts of terms, but I think that would be a perfect use for this base in the future. Now, are these things as far out as they can go? I think they are. Oh no, it's 9.35 meters. But it's all stopped at the moment because I'm assuming these are full. Not these. Not that one. These. Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of stone. Oh wow, it's all stone. All the iron has been processed. How much iron have I ended up with? Oh, whoa! That's a lot. That's gone up a lot since I started this recording. Wow. That was like 260,000 at the start. Woo-hoo. Okay. I am going to have no excuse for not pressurizing the construction hangar down there when I get back. Yes! Ah, looking forward to that. Right, well, that's enough catwalks, I think. And enough structural stuff. I'm pretty happy with how all this looks. Ignoring how that looks, because I don't think I'm happy with it. So, the next thing I want to do is probably start... well, hopefully finish the interior design in here and start pressurizing it. But one of the reasons I've held off on that is a few people have suggested to me that some sort of control tower might be a good idea around here. Something that I can sit in that's pressurized, that can see the launches and in my roleplay sort of fashion, see ships come in to land and kind of act as a base control, well, be a control tower, basically. But it really just needs to be able to see the catapult and the landing area. Prior to loading into the game, I thought maybe that could come off the current living area. But I just don't see how I'm going to make that work unless I drastically change the design. And I'm not sure that I want to. I quite like the flat shape of it. So I'm thinking maybe some sort of control tower structure over here that you have to go through another airlock to get to, but is set up about this sort of height. You can clearly see the catapult, and you'll be able to see where the drop pods end up going. You'll be able to see the landing bay, and then you just walk out that door of the airlock and then come in here. And the reason I wanted to decide that first is for me to start building inside, I want to start pressurizing it when I do. So I wanted to make this call before I decide later that I have to modify that whole thing and may end up accidentally depressurizing it at a bad time. So for a control tower with what I've been doing so far, let's have 4 supports coming up. I just did a clang and oh, it's probably drill. Is this going to be tall enough? I'm going to be happy up here. No, I think it should go high. Oh! That was a bad time to fly out over the void. Oh, that made me nervous. No, I think the control tower needs to be taller than the catapult. It's going to be skinnier. I think it'll be a nice silhouette against the gas giant too when I fall away on the drop pod like last time. Okay, how's that? Yeah, I think that's a good overview. Now, looking from back here. Yeah, I can see that working. As many of you know, I use Steve, which is my laptop with an account of Space Engineers that joins this game as a multiplayer session to record my time lapses. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is I sometimes forget to move Steve's camera, and usually I get really annoyed at myself when I do that, because I end up missing some of the action in the time lapse if I'm doing a bit of a close-up in a previous shot. In this case, however, it gave me time to realize that I'd done this all wrong, and fortunately realize it before I'd done too much more. What kind of base would ever be designed with you having to suit up to go through an airlock, to walk 15 meters to go through another airlock, to get out of your suit to go to work? That's just nuts. It doesn't make any sense at all. So, I have to think about that side of things. Also, I don't think I left myself enough room for an airlock here. Because if I want a zero losses airlock, I need to have a vent inside the airlock, which means I need more than 2 blocks. And if I'm going to go up into the tower in this block, I haven't left myself enough space. So, I'm going to get rid of all of this, and unfortunately waste a little bit of iron in the process, but I think it is much better for me to reassess how I'm going to approach this, and do something that will hopefully make more sense, and therefore, at least in my cases, normally when things make sense, they look so much better. So I think this is still the most sensible location for a control tower, but what that means is I'm going to need to make a tunnel from the control tower over to the living space so that you don't have to go outside. And I also think as part of that, what I might do is expand this bit of the base out just a little bit, moving the door out here so that this could be an airlock off the side, and then this would be a tunnel with glass, and I'll probably get rid of this catwalk that I laid just today to do this. Yeah, that could actually work heaps better. So if I get rid of this block here. Ooh!
Fuel low.
So glad for the big H2 warning on my HUD. That's going to save me so many times. It gives me just enough time with this low gravity and my low jetpack power to fling myself at my base if I need to. And hope I land without killing myself. Let's go back to what I was doing, which was grinding this out. Is that going to look really wonky? I feel like I might need to make this 3 blocks wide so that it doesn't look weird. And I think making it 3 blocks wide coming out further this way rather than 3 blocks including this row is actually going to be better. The reason for that is this diagonal piece here is going to look a bit strange once I start having to add stuff into it, I think. Plus, if I get rid of this bit, I actually make it so that I could just get rid of this door entirely and put the door on this block here. So one of the things that I always find to do when I've got block-based building games is making spaces that feel, well, that end up being much larger than I wanted them to be because I want to get some extra block spaces in them so I can put more stuff down. And this corridor is going to be a prime example of that. I want to be able to have a shape that isn't just pointy on top so that I can have this flat space, which means it has to be 3 blocks wide, which also means it's 7.5 meters wide, which is a giant corridor. But if I were to fill the corridor with these sort of spaced out supports and put windows in between them, the corridor, the usable part of it, will actually only be this 2.5 by 2.5 bit with the added bits in between. And so visually, it'll probably make it feel a lot smaller, which I think will give me pretty much exactly what I want out of it. Yeah, I'll make that all solid armor. So the first bit of the corridor will be a bit tight, and I'll have to move these blockers at some point. And then I'll leave a 2-block gap, maybe. Then another 2-block gap. And then this is probably going to be where the tower would start. I think that'll work pretty well. So the tower, how are we going to do the entry? If the corridor is coming down there, and it can come off here. Maybe I should think about building an elevator into it, using a piston to push up. Is that going to make the tower enormous, though? Elevators are a fairly... Or do I go with a ladder because then I can use my jetpack, but I also have the ladder as a backup? I think I might do that. I don't normally do that, so it might be nice to do something different. So... my problem before was that I didn't leave myself enough room. Let's go out a bit further. Put my 4 supports down out here. Oh, that is just barely keeping inside the asteroid there. Do not want to go any further. So this can come up from here. I'll work out the airlock after I've set this up. The general shape. Top here, we'll go with a nice bigger octagon. Alright, so that's going to be the shape of the top of the tower. I think what I'm going to do for walls, because most of it's going to be glass, but I want it to still have some armored support, is put slopes on these angled parts. Since I can't put any decorative blocks there anyway, once I put the glass there, I wouldn't be able to stick anything in between, so it'd just be this open glass wall. So, kind of makes sense to fill those bits in to create the supports and leave the bits where I can use decorative stuff clear for it. Because then I get all the advantages and none of the disadvantages. And then I should be able to use the... if I go to the G menu, desk. These desk blocks. I should be able to use these desk blocks, probably without a chair, on each side of these gaps with, say... I swear I had a control chair in here somewhere. There we go. With, say, this control chair in the middle. The desks on either side will allow the glass in front of it to attach to them. So I'll have the attachment point for the glass to continue to keep this space airtight. That should work fairly well, I think. Then I'll just create a dome of glass on top of this. And how much space am I going to need for an airlock? The corridor comes down to here, and then we turn right. We go up the stairs. Not the stairs. The ladder. Go up the ladder to the top. Or jetpack, because we can. And then I'll need to have door, vent space, door for the airlock. Alright. This is going to come together, I think. I'm going to do a bunch of welding, I think, now. Try and get most of this in. Get rid of these railings and stuff. And hopefully give myself enough space to... yeah, to start setting up the airlocks. Because I would like to have these airlocks set up, because then, next week, I can do the interior design of the top of the tower, as well as the interior design of the base, without ever having to worry about oxygen. If I bring a bit of food and water inside, I won't need anything at all outside. It's going to be perfect. Might be able to do most of it. Well, I don't think designing that will be most of an episode, but I'll be able to do a lot of an episode without having to refill my oxygen once. We'll see how long that lasts. That's my goal for the rest of today, is to make this airtight so that I can try that for next week. I might even run a timer to see how long it goes for. Because I'm kind of intrigued. I really hope I haven't messed anything up now, because I've just welded up so much and used up so much iron. Time for some windows. Well, once I weld up these bits over here. I was thinking in this section here, I might just put some of the new offset doors as kind of a bulkhead. So one flush with this wall, and then you go through, and then one flush with this wall.
Energy low.
Because that'll give me room to put a light in the middle, and it'll be just a little corridor here. Given that I will get rid of this door here, I might be able to sneak an armory inside this airlock. Because I kind of like the idea of putting a armory inside. It was suggested in one of the comments, and I really quite think it'll work well. And similarly, this one down here, I'll be able to put them on this side with a door here and a door here. It all should work out quite well to have similar design to the two nearby airlocks. There we go, got lights. And then I can put all my windows occupying most of this space. I wasn't planning on putting any decorative blocks in this area. This was just going to be a mainly open corridor. So it shouldn't matter that I'm occupying the space in it with the windows and only leaving myself these two blocks that I'm standing on now, dancing between, free to put stuff on. I don't really know what else I would put to decorate a corridor like this. I feel like it'd be weird to put couches and things out here since it is focused on the concept of needing to go to work. But if you got any thoughts of something I might put in here, I can push these two windows out, but not this side. And I guess I would consider grinding them out to do that if there's a good idea on that side of stuff. But yeah, I don't want to put tables or anything like that out there, which is what I often would have put in a corridor like this. That's the corridor setup. How does that look at a distance? Yeah, I think that works. It adds to the asymmetry of the base, which I think is nice. It's bulked out that side, where it kind of feels it works against the bulk of the cargo containers. Can't speak. Cargo containers on the other side, which I quite like. Yes. I just saw something that bugged me earlier that I just accidentally created an answer to. If I grind out this piece here, put a junction in where it was, and a straight and junction. I can then do another support like this piece over here, which will come down to the ground, and then these can pipe off over to where the vents will sit. Love it when this stuff comes together without proper planning. Staring at this view from the cockpit of the Remora, I am in love with this base. It is just messy, there's stuff everywhere, but there's a nice purpose to it all that I know. That's exactly what I was hoping it'd look like. So chairless desks around like this, and now I put two of them on each set of windows. If I have to change them out, I just have to remember to only do it one at a time, and the windows shouldn't fall off. And then we can place the flat windows on the front, on the outside, which I think might also give me a spot to hang some, whoops. Yeah, it will. It'll give me a spot to hang some lights down, or probably down, just so there's a bit more light on this thing as well. So because of these corner pieces, I'll also have the ability to hang lights from the glass on the roof, because once I've placed those down, I can then go back and get the flat glass, attach it on the side, like so, which then gives me somewhere to put a corner light like this, I think. Oh, wait, don't have any don't have construction components. Those would help. Let's try that again. Ow. There we go. No more working in the dark. Ooh, I'm almost out of my space meals. In fact, if I sit... Yep, I'm out of my space meals. I'm down to tofu and synth food. Down to my last 20 liters of water too. Consumables slowly depleting. Pretty sure I brought enough up here, which does surprise me a bit, but I'm pretty sure I brought enough up here that I can complete this build to the standard that I hope to before having to head back. Which is very exciting, because I didn't think I was going to. Thought I was going to have to make a few trips up here. But if I've got a way station that's mostly complete, that I can just kind of do little bits and pieces on as I come through, that would be great, because then I can use it as a functional place to come to. Somewhere that's easy to stop by, in comfort, and then, yeah, it'll be always nice, a nice stop along the way, sort of thing. Oh, I was just thinking, with how long this took using a jetpack to get up and down from here, I shudder to think how horrible it might have been to have to do this with ladders. Or even having to walk up a spiral staircase. That would have been all sorts of awful. I would have had to probably build a conveyor system up there so that I didn't have to do it. It would have been quicker that way. But the tower is almost complete. Just got to finish welding up my corridor. And then I can put the doors in to make sure that for the start of next week I can make this airtight. There is another thing I realised that I haven't done yet, which is I haven't connected this conveyor system to this one. So I need to finish off that at some point too. So that since I conveyed from the refinery system to try and pressurize this area, I'm going to need to combine them before I can actually pressurize this bit. Unless I want to do it all off the other thing. Alright, time to work out the basics of this airlock. Which is pretty much choosing where the doors are going to be. And what type of doors. I do like that the sliding doors were used on the other one, so I go sliding door there and sliding door there, which is nice and easy. I would like to put some offset doors as kind of bulkheads. Just in case I stuff something up, it will it might it might reduce the amount of oxygen I lose. So maybe putting one in there. Although I'm probably always going to have to leave that one open because I don't have any way to vent up here and pressurize it except for the vent that's right in front of that door. Go offset door there. Get rid of the lockers. Those lockers are going to have to go too. And then there'll be another offset door there. Lockers here. Is that going to stick out too far from that door? I don't think it will. I think that'll be okay. Then I can put armory lockers there. Could also put a second set where this block is in there. And then this airlock becomes a much bigger space and a much kind of more sensible space in some ways. Don't need to change the other doors up, which is good. I guess I'll do something similar to the other one and put a slope in there. Then we can have our armory lockers on this side, this side, this side. And over here, what should I put there? Just regular lockers? Yeah, why not? Regular lockers, and then I've still got enough room for corner lights there and there. And as many people mentioned when I was talking about the sensor light, the sensors for automating the airlock down at the other bit, I can stick the sensor underneath or on the roof or somewhere else and have it affect this area without affecting much else. So I don't need to worry about leaving a block space in here for a sensor. Window. Finish this light. And let's close this door. In theory, I should have this whole space airtight. So if I turn on these vents that aren't hooked up to the oxygen system, it should show green. Maybe? Not pressurized. No! Oh. Okay. Let's close these doors and see if that makes a difference. Oh, that's not the one. Yay! Okay. I know what the problem is. I left the doors on this airlock open, didn't I? Yes, I did. Okay, we have an airtight base! Yes! Oh, that is awesome. Now, let's quickly pipe up the two systems together so that I can pressurize this space at the end of this episode. And I can come back next time and just do some designing. And then I get to, well, depending on how long it takes me to do all the decorative designing, I can do the drop pod bay underneath. And there we go. Linked. I'll put some supports in and other things around here later on when I'm working under there, but for now I want to just leave it free in case I do something like this corridor that would make it a nightmare to make it line up. Right. We have it all linked up. That means it is time to build this cargo container, which I can build through the other one. Yay! Conveyor access indoors. Let's close the outer doors. Let's turn that on because it's on depressurized. Let's close the inner airlock doors. Go down to the other end, do the same thing. You
Energy
depressurize. On. I'm just going to leave them on for now and then I'll set up the sensors later. But at least this way it should prevent me from accidentally losing the air around here. Toggle on. That one's working. Low and cold. And that one's working. High and warm! Oh yeah. This is the way it should be. Me not dying and able to work inside. Yes. Oh, this is going to be so much better. So much better. Let's see if I can do this. And I line up my walk. There we go, walking through the corridor. So next time, it's going to be a bit of decorative stuff, and then hopefully getting some work done underneath the main bit of the base. So there's all that. Oh, let's turn around and go back the other way. So there's all that. Plenty more to come. And I will see you then. Oh, so happy with how the base is coming along.